Welcome to how to set up a Twitter account. I'm going to guide you through this. It's not going to be too long, but some of the things that you're going to need to think about having as we go through this and as you follow the video on your own later on is you'll need to have an email address because Twitter will be sending a confirmation email to you. You'll have to think of a relevant username. I'm not going to go too much into usernames because near this video within the book there is also some guidance about really selecting a username that's going to be effective for you. You're going to need an image either of yourself if it's a personal account or maybe an image of your business, but we'll talk about that a little later. You're going to need a background image as well, so you need to think about that, something that's going to enhance your Twitter site on the web, and also think of a biography that either works and describes very well yourself or your business. So those are the things that you should be thinking about having before you start to open your Twitter account. Now, some of you may well already have a Twitter account, maybe helped by your son, daughter, significant other or whatever. So please watch this video as well because I'm sure there'll be one or two tips that you'll find very, very useful. So first of all, let's go onto my screen and come up at twitter.com. And the first thing we're looking at here are the two boxes on the right hand side of the screen. The small one at the top here, well, that's used for people to sign in who already have a Twitter account. The second box here at the bottom is for people to sign up from scratch, and this is what we're going to do now for you. So the full name we need, I'm just going to put David at the moment, the email address, and we have interactive SM course at gmail.com, and we're going to put our password in, and then we sign up, and this is the page that we find. Now, as you can see, everything looks really good at the moment. The full name, the email address where they're going to send a confirmation to, the password's got in, but we've got to choose a username next, and that's what we're going to do now. So the username that came up and was chosen by Twitter is totally unsuitable for what we want, and I don't particularly want my interactive social media courses to be called David. So let's try and find something. Interactive courses. Well, look, the username is already taken and I've run out of characters as well. So I'm going to just try and do something very briefly. Let's see if I can do that. Interactive core, that works. Okay, so I'm going to now change my name by simply, and I can do this because I'm going to have more characters here, so I can have interactive courses. So the name looks great. Everything on this page now is okay. Now, if I want to keep myself signed in on the computer, I don't suggest that you do this when you're sharing a computer, then you either tick or uncheck that box. So this is a training video, so I don't really want to keep checking in again. And you can tailor tweets based on your recent website visits. Whether you want to do that or not, that's entirely up to you. But I would suggest if you're starting, don't do that. So let's create the account by pressing the yellow button at the bottom of the screen, and Twitter is now thinking, and now it's come up with the account. So let's get cracking then. First of all, let's welcome ourselves to Twitter and start to build our profile. Twitter requires you, don't ask me why, that they need you to follow 5 people. Well, I would suggest that you follow the 5 that they've already suggested. You can always unfollow them, so there's not a problem. Let's click next. And now we have to try and find 5 more. So I'm just going to click on these icons here until we get a list of potential people to follow. And there's another 5. Do that and then click next. We're going to unfollow those very shortly. And if you want to find immediately your friends, people that you have dealt with before, friends, family or business partners, and you've been communicating with them via email through Gmail, then you can search your contacts and they'll find Twitter followers straight away. And as you can see here, if you're on Yahoo or Hotmail or AOL, it's all the same. But I don't want to do that, and down the bottom here is a grey word skip. Let's skip, and it will take us to the next page where we're going to start to build our profile and build a presence rather on Twitter, so people can find us and we can start to actually engage with people using this wonderful tool of 140 characters. Now first what we're going to need is an image, and you will need an image because to have what used to be, if you've ever seen Twitter before, you might have seen people, and you will still see people with an icon like an egg. And if you see the egg, don't communicate with it because there's no real person behind that avatar or that image. So here on the left you can see a shadow of somebody, and that is what we're going to replace with an image that either highlights you as an individual or you as a business. As an individual, try not to use little cartoon characters or pictures that have no relationship to you. For an individual and personal Twitter account, you really do need to have a photograph of yourself, because people want to engage with people. They want to know that there's an individual behind that. If you're a small business, it might also be relevant and quite cool to have your face there so that they know that they're dealing with a person, not some faceless business. So I'd like you to think about that. And also, under here is where we're going to put the bio. So if you're an individual, something about you, what you're interested in, your hobbies, etc., so that when people search Twitter to find other like-minded people, they'll find you. If you're a business, put as many characters in, write as many words as the 160 characters here allow about your business. But I would also suggest that within that 160, make room for the www.thisismycompany.com, because it's another way of getting people to engage with your company and therefore find out more about your products. So let's upload the image then. So I'm clicking on there. I've got some images saved on my desktop, so let's have a look at that. And I'm first of all going to put an image up that says there's something about social media training. So there you can see it's not my image. I borrowed it from the internet and it's coming straight off this account when we finish recording this training video. So just open it and in goes the image. It's already sized automatically. We provide social media training. Now that is not a very, very good example of a bio, but you have to put as much as you can in there, and if you can put your web address in as well, that's going to be really, really cool. So now we've got some presence on Twitter. Let's make sure that we've clicked to say that we've done that so we don't lose our work. And Twitter's thinking about it. And we've started to build our Twitter presence. We've also got to check our email address to see if we've got that confirmation email from Twitter. Here it is, confirm your account now. And it's done. So the email address has come back to Twitter, and as you can see, our Twitter account is now confirmed. So I'm going to click off that. Here we go. So what you see now on your Twitter account, on our Twitter account, is a timeline of people that have been tweeting from those that we followed when we did the setup. So if we go to following now, we'll see that these are all the people that we are following. Obviously we don't want to do that, so we can unfollow them simply by hovering the mouse over till it goes red unfollow and click on them. So we'll do that now and get rid of those 10 first people that we followed. It'll mean that our account has got no real activity. But, you know, we're starting from scratch. So let's go back to our home page now. And as you can see, there are no tweets there. So the next thing we've got to do is look at our account settings to see how we develop them a little bit more. So at the top right of the screen is the settings wheel. Click on the settings wheel and come down onto settings themselves. As I say, we're not going into any great detail at the moment. This is all basic stuff. So there's our username that we've got. Checking our email address that we're English, that we're in the right time zone. Well, at the moment as we make this, we're in Bosnia-Herzegovina, so our nearest city is Zagreb, so I'm going to click on that. We want to be relevant to the whole world, and here it asks us about tweet media. And these two boxes here, basically, you can click if you do not want to see inappropriate content on your feed. and your business might be, one of those that really it would damage you if you have any rogue sort of material coming into your feed. So got that sorted. Let's save it. And Twitter asks all the time for you to put your password in at each stage of any change that you make to your account. So that's our account. Our security and privacy tab shows us for how we want to log in, what privacy we want. Do we want people to see photographs that we've been tagged in by other people? And do we need our tweets protected? In other words, do we want to be totally and utterly private? Well, if we're running a business, we certainly don't want that. If we're just going to do it for family, friends, well, that might be. And something else that you really need to think about is adding your location to your tweets, so that when people do a Twitter search for businesses or people in a certain area, they are going to find you. And also, finally, do you want to be discovered by the use of your email address? If so, just tick and check the box. And if you don't like the ads in your feed, uncheck, and we save it again. So that's the security and privacy taken care of. If we want to change our password, we're just going to click on the tab here. Like anywhere else on the internet, you can update your password, and of course most people change their passwords every 30 or so days. On the mobile tab, well, what does that do? That allows you to download a Twitter mobile app, add your mobile phone to your Twitter account, and you can actually use Twitter to text as well. That's if you wanted to do that. And then a whole list of email notifications for when people favorite what you tweet, when you're mentioned in a tweet, when you retweet a tweet, and so on and so on. All you need to do is carefully go down this list and check or uncheck the boxes that fits with the way that you want to be notified about activity that you or people that you know have on Twitter. Web notifications, these are currently disabled, so not to worry too much about that. But this is what is really important now for you, is this profile. So let's click on profile, because as we're going to see, this is where we start to make our Twitter page on the internet look a lot more relevant. So we have our photograph, and now we're going to look at what we put on the header of our site. And here is our site, and this area here is where we are going to put a header to make it much more relevant, much more attractive to people that visit us. So we click on edit, add a header photograph, and I'm going to upload one once again from my computer. And here is the Banana Bridge, which is not far from where we are here in Bosnia. And I think that this will reflect, in my view, the part of Bosnia that we're in at the moment. It's only for demonstration, so I'm going to open that, and up comes this photograph straight away. And as you can see, I'm now able to maneuver to move my image up and down. I can also zoom in and zoom out. So I'm just going to leave this, my header, like this. I apply it, and there's the header now published successfully to my Twitter profile, and I've saved it. So now we've got a rather interesting looking Twitter page already. Should be lots more biography down there, but you'll be able to put in there. And Twitter gives you some ideas of people at the moment who you may want to think about following, and I'm going to talk about that in just a second. So our Twitter account is looking like this. We've got 2 suggestions to start tweeting. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't use those at all at the moment. But before we go any further, it's about having people that you can start to follow. If you go to the search up here and you put in something like, I don't know, bread makers, you'll start to find, and if you're in the bread making business, you'll start to find a lot of people who either have the name bread maker in their username or are referring to bread making in their tweets. And this will enable you to start looking at people who you might find interesting to follow. Some of you will have friends already on Twitter who will say, well, just follow me at lovely David or whatever, and you can do that. But a good way to start off building up a following and people to follow. They will follow you back if, of course, your biography over here reflects it. You see them and you'll say, yes, I want to follow them. They have interesting content. I could learn something from them, or I could possibly do business with them in the future. When you see that, then always look back at your own Twitter account and say, what are people thinking when they're looking at me? And to tweet finally, because this is only an introduction, you can tweet here using this blue icon with the quill pen in, or here in a tweet box. Tweet boxes appear at different places on different applications. You have 140 characters. You can use hashtags like here, my first tweet that is being shown in the example given by Twitter. 140 characters. Quick bit of advice, we'll be talking about communicating using Twitter a lot more in detail as we go through the course. But this, on your free introduction, just write tweets that are in the same language that you would talk to people if you were in a coffee bar or sat over the table in your living room. Nothing formal, very light-hearted, and get things out. So that's it. That's an easy, simple introduction to setting up a Twitter account, and you should now be able to start communicating in 140 characters using Twitter.